Born on February 12, 1809, Charles Robert Darwin was an inquisitive child, showing a keen interest in the natural world. Raised in Shrewsbury, England, Darwin was the fifth of 6 children in a well-to-do family. His father was a successful doctor, while his mother came from a family of distinguished industrialists. From a young age, Darwin showed a fascination with collecting and observing insects, often losing himself in the wonder of nature. As he grew older, this curiosity extended to the medical field, leading him to pursue a degree in medicine at Edinburgh University. However, disenchanted by the brutality of surgery in the early 19th century, he abandoned his medical studies. Instead, Darwin found himself drawn to natural history and geology. His passion for these fields was further ignited by the teachings of botanist John Stevens Henslow and geologist Adam Sedgwick at Cambridge University. Destined for a career in medicine, Darwin's life took a significant turn when he was invited to join the HMS Beagle as a naturalist. In 1831, Darwin embarked on a 5-year voyage aboard the HMS Beagle. Sailing from Plymouth, England, the Beagle was tasked with charting the coastline of South America. Yet, for the young naturalist Charles Darwin, this journey became something far more significant. Darwin was not merely a passenger on this voyage. He was the ship's naturalist, tasked with observing and collecting specimens from the lands they visited. His role was to document the natural wonders they would encounter, from the smallest insects to the largest land mammals. He meticulously recorded every detail, his observations filling numerous notebooks. The Beagle meandered along the coasts of South America, each new destination offering Darwin an opportunity to explore and document. He traipsed through dense jungles, scaled towering mountains, and trudged across arid deserts. From the lush landscapes of Brazil to the windswept plains of Patagonia, Darwin was presented with an array of life forms that was astonishing in its diversity. But it wasn't just the variety of life that caught Darwin's attention. He was intrigued by the similarities and differences between species. He noted that the creatures on each continent, and even on different islands, seemed uniquely suited to their environments. This observation sparked a question in Darwin's mind. Why were there such similarities and differences among species? As the Beagle journeyed further, it reached the remote archipelago of the Galapagos Islands. This isolated group of islands presented Darwin with a living laboratory. Here, he found species that existed nowhere else on Earth. Yet they showed striking resemblances to species found on the mainland. It was as if these creatures had changed over time, adapting to the unique conditions of each island. One particular destination, the Galapagos Islands, would prove to be crucial to Darwin's developing understanding of the natural world. This extraordinary voyage of exploration and discovery had provided Darwin with a wealth of observations and specimens. These would form the basis for his groundbreaking theory, forever changing our understanding of life on Earth. On the Galapagos Islands, Darwin observed something remarkable. These isolated volcanic islands, each with its unique environment, were home to a variety of species that were similar, yet subtly different from one another. It was as if each island had its own version of a species tailored to its specific environment. Consider the humble finch. On the mainland, the finch was a common, unassuming bird. But on the Galapagos, Darwin found an astonishing array of finches, each species with a distinct size, shape, and beak design. Some finches had powerful, crushing beaks for cracking seeds, while others had slender, pointed beaks for catching insects. It was as though each finch was a custom solution to the food availability problem on its respective island. Then there were the giant tortoises, lumbering relics of a bygone era. On some islands, they had domed shells and short necks, perfectly suited for grazing on low-lying vegetation. On others, they had saddle-backed shells and long necks, enabling them to reach higher vegetation. These observations intrigued Darwin. Why were there so many variations of the same basic design? Why were these variations so perfectly suited to their environment? The prevailing belief of the time was that all species were created as they are, unchanging throughout time. But Darwin began to question this belief. He started to entertain a radical idea. What if species could change? What if they could adapt to their environment over generations? These questions marked a turning point in Darwin's scientific journey. He began to see nature not as a static tableau, but as a dynamic, ever-changing tapestry of life. He began to envision a process by which small, random variations beneficial to survival and reproduction could accumulate over generations, leading to significant changes in species. Darwin's observations in the Galapagos were a significant piece of the puzzle, but it would take further insight to bring his theory into focus. Back in England, Darwin made a connection that would crystallize his theory. His eureka moment came while deeply engrossed in Thomas Malthus's essay on population growth. Malthus argued that human populations could increase faster than their food supply, leading to competition for resources. This sparked a revelation in Darwin's mind. He saw parallels in the natural world. He realized that all species produce more offspring than can possibly survive, leading to a struggle for existence. And like humans in Malthus's essay, animals and plants also compete for resources. But here's the twist. In nature, the competitors are not equal. Some individuals, due to slight variations, are better adapted to their environment. These organisms are more likely to survive and reproduce. This process, Darwin realized, was natural selection. It was the engine driving the evolution of species. With this new insight, Darwin began to formulate his groundbreaking theory. Darwin now had a theory, but he spent many years refining it before presenting it to the world. The origins of a new idea can be a flash of insight, but the maturation of that idea into a fully fledged theory is often a slow and painstaking process. Such was the case for Darwin. He had a revolutionary concept in his grasp, but he needed to refine it, to chisel away the rough edges until it was a mirror of nature's reality. Darwin was a meticulous man, and he did not rush this process. He spent long hours, days, and years polishing his theory. He was not just content with the broad strokes of natural selection. He wanted to understand the minute details, the nuts and bolts that held his theory together. One crucial aspect Darwin grappled with was the idea of inheritance and variation. He puzzled over how traits were passed down from generation to generation, and why some traits varied while others remained constant. He understood that variation was key to natural selection. Without variation, there could be no selection. But the mechanism of inheritance remained a mystery. Darwin proposed a model he called pangenesis, where particles or gemmules from all parts of an organism's body were thought to blend in the offspring. Although this model was later disproved by the rediscovery of Gregor Mendel's work on genetics, it was a stepping stone in the right direction. It showed Darwin's relentless quest to fill the gaps in his theory. His theory was like a jigsaw puzzle, each piece a different aspect of the natural world. He spent years fitting these pieces together, refining his ideas, testing them against his observations until they formed a coherent, compelling picture of life's grand tapestry. Finally, after more than 2 decades of work, Darwin was ready to share his theory with the world. And the world, as we know, would never be the same again. In 1859, Darwin published On the Origin of Species, presenting his theory of evolution by natural selection. This seminal work marked a turning point in the annals of science. Initially, it sparked controversy, challenging long-held beliefs and shaking the very foundations of biological understanding. Darwin's theory proposed that species weren't static, but rather they evolved over time through a process he called natural selection. However, controversy soon gave way to acceptance. The scientific community, after rigorous scrutiny and debate, embraced Darwin's ideas. His theory provided a unifying framework for understanding the diversity of life. From fossils to DNA, from microbiology to ecology, every facet of biology found a place in Darwin's grand scheme of evolution. Darwin's theory revolutionized our understanding of life on Earth, and his legacy continues to shape science today. His theory of evolution by natural selection remains one of the most powerful and elegant explanations for the wondrous diversity of life we observe around us.